Yeah, so all I did was literally push him off a cliff. It was that easy. Watch him plummet to his. Hi, welcome back to my channel, Conglomeration Cat. I hope everyone's doing okay. I'm pretty excited to do this video today because it's going to be my top 10 favorite albums to play. I am very much into music, always have been since I was an infant. I started collecting vinyl when I was about 14. It's now dwindled down to about 300 albums in my collection as opposed to 1,500. Combination of lack of space and life events have kind of made me dwindle it down to the real quintessentials that I will never part with or never trade, never sell. Spent a long time being patient with sites like eBay and local record shops that I supported in the years that I've been through. Right time, right place, hooking up with the right network of people. So yeah, these are the top 10. They're not in any chronological order per se. They're just the top 10 that I think have the most significance to me as a musician, as a music lover. Give you a little bit of a background of my childhood and how I got into music. I was born and raised in SoCal, Santa Cruz, California, in the Bay Area. My father was the stay-at-home housewife, per se. My mom I knew a little bit of, but didn't really connect with her as much in my beginning years. She happened to be the first female fire inspector in the state of California in 1974, so I was, I think, 2 at the time. So I'm sure she was there, but I don't have a lot of recollections or a lot of memories of being in her presence until much later on in life. But it was just my dad and I for the first 7 years of my life. We had a huge sized living room in our house in SoCal. It was a vaulted ceiling living room, and there were massive windows on the north and south side of this house. And the way my dad set up the stereo system was quite massive. It was like a huge movie theater room, minus the big TVs. There weren't HD or plasma screens back in those days, that's for sure. But we certainly had the highest grade stereo equipment at that time. I remember sitting on my dad's lap a lot, watching him do his home recordings and mixing some of his home demos. He was a singer-songwriter himself, so he would send in demos to a lot of record labels back in the day to see if anyone would purchase his material. I don't think he had any ambition to tour or be in the limelight per se. I think he was more of a writer and wanted to see if anyone would pick up his material to perform. His big claim to fame when I was a child is that there was a show in the 70s called the Mac Davis Variety Show. And funny enough, one of his songs got performed on Mac Davis's show. He would have a feature on the show where he would take a song that was sent in, and I think him and his people kind of dug through the big bin of how many were sent in and decided to pick his out and perform it on the show. I really wish I could find that on YouTube. I've tried to send letters to people in the business to see if that might be in the vault somewhere or if it's even available. Probably not, but I do have an actual cassette copy of it. I might post it on here sometime when I got the time and energy to go ahead and try to restore it and get it into its much more quality state for it to be heard. So as a child, it was a magical, magical time for me. If it wasn't on the stereo, people would come over with acoustic guitars until roughly midnight after a big spaghetti potluck feed. My grandma, who lived on the property with us, also was a musician, so she would play her organ. She'd open up her windows, and I could hear it several feet from the main house. My brother, who was in high school at the time, was very influenced with Jimi Hendrix, Jimmy Page, Rick Derringer. The list is endless for him, so he was constantly playing music. So yeah, as a child, I was in heaven. It was a fantastic upbringing, and as I got older, I taught myself how to play the acoustic guitar first. Formed my own band. Was with a lot of musicians. I liked being on stage. I liked the adulation, but I didn't like the popularity, and I didn't like a lot of the limelight. So I became a working musician. I was more of a session musician, kind of behind closed doors. So that's kind of the history how I got into music. To this day, it's a very huge role in my life. Couldn't live without it. Unfortunately, I lost my father last year, back in June, due to complications of cancer. So I want to really dedicate this video to him. I would like to really acknowledge him as the one who really kind of put me on that path and put me on that road to being a musician, to appreciate all genres of music. And if this little thing could go on Indeed.com and get a job, that'd be great, so she can support her mom and dad. We're still working on that, but hey, it's a work in progress. This is our pumpkin doodles. Love you, girl. You ready to look at some vinyl records? Okay. Well, she's going to like this first one that I'm going to show. She's going to love this one. As I block her. Can you see? Can you see? Oh yeah, she knows this one. Yeah, this is one of her favorites. It's certainly one of mine too. This is Tea for the Tillerman by Cat Stevens. Sorry for the glare. If you want a good Sunday morning album with a good cup of coffee and no distractions and it's quiet, this is what I often put on a Sunday morning. This is a wonderful album. I love everything off of this album. It might have been one of the first unplugged albums, meaning that it's mainly acoustic. From what I hear, I guess he was hospitalized with something. I'm not sure exactly what it was anymore, but I guess he wrote the bulk of the material for this album while he was bedridden. So there's a lot of soul searching, a lot of reflective, emotional feelings that go into this album. And just the sound alone is amazing. It's not complex. There's no studio trickery or anything. It's just pretty stripped down to the bones, bare acoustics. Wild World was the famous song off this album. Some other songs later on got used in movies. This is such a great, great album. I remember trying to draw this when I was in school, actually. And don't know what happened to it or even if anyone cared, but it was one of those that I stared at a lot when I was a child and wanted to draw this exact album cover. I think eventually I did. So that is one of my big, big albums. I like that one. This one's going to take a radical left turn from what I just showed everybody. Yes, Jimi Hendrix's Electric Ladyland. Yeah, boy, when I was 6 years old, this thing terrified me, man. This was not Peter, Paul, and Mary. This was not Simon and Garfunkel. This was no Gordon Lightfoot. There was no James Taylor. This was so left field without a glove on for me. To say that I ran out of the room a couple times when I heard it when my brother brought it home from high school is an understatement. This thing was very powerful. You can imagine the sound system we had back in those days. To hear the panning of the left and right channels being switched around, backwards guitars, passages slowed all the way down, sounded really creepy, so I couldn't make much sense of it as a kid. But as I got into my teenage years and into my 20s, I really started to sit down with this thing back to front with a good pair of headphones and pay careful attention to the genius, to the artistic expression that I think Jimmy was going through at the time. I think it was one of the few times that he had full reign in the studio at the control board to make things sound like they're underwater. What an amazing accomplishment. I could appreciate Foxy Lady and Purple Haze. Those are great, great cuts. Those are great pop psychedelic hits per se. But as far as a piece, as far as like an accomplished piece that he really put in over 110% in, this album definitely displays that. I think my favorite cut off of it is probably 1983, A Merman I Should Turn to Be. It's the 16 to 17 underwater piece, I guess, as a lot of fans call it. Brilliantly constructed. With a good pair of headphones and a great sound system, you really get lost in this album. It's not to be taken lightly. It's not one that you would necessarily do housekeeping with while it's on in the background. It's one of those things that if you have a good system, good headphones, this is definitely one to literally experience. Absolutely. This next one's kind of in the same vein, same genre. Yes, this is Led Zeppelin 2. I am very, very happy to say that this is the Robert Ludwig Hot Mix. I didn't know about this mix till much later on in life, and I really wish I would have known earlier on, because while it was a special album that my brother brought home when he was 15, I was 6. When someone let me know about the hot mix, they kind of gave me what they call like a fair warning. They said that I would never hear it the same since, and it is true. Any other mix that I hear after the hot mix sounds anemic. It sounds weak. It doesn't have enough dynamics. Jimmy Page still to this day will not re-release it in any digital format. You have to literally go on eBay, save up a good few $100, and trust me, it is worth every penny. Just the intro and A Whole Lot of Love alone, you almost have to go down to your receiver and almost turn the bass almost all the way down. It's that powerful. I will do a video eventually of the comparisons of the hot mix as opposed to the standard recalled mix that most people are very familiar with. A lot of great songs on here. I don't have to go through it. Most people in the vinyl community know exactly what this entails. I used the song Thank You for my wedding last year, and what a perfect opportunity. The song synced in with the people walking down the aisle, including my wife, and to this day, there's not a dry eye in the house. The dynamics on this thing are incredible. I think this is a fantastic album from them. I like Led Zeppelin 4. Anything off 4 is probably my second favorite, but it varies. It really does. Between this and 4, they are my favorite Zeppelin albums. But I do thank my brother for bringing this one home, and my dad would often tape things onto cassette when people would bring home albums, or if he would buy something new, he would tape it off to cassette. I still have it to this day, and it still plays. So this one is definitely treasured. This one's going to be a bit left field because I don't think it gets talked about. I don't think it really gets a lot of recognition that I think it does deserve. It is U2's October. I am a massive U2 fan from Boy up to Joshua Tree. Anything after Joshua Tree, I have a little bit of a hard time getting into, and still to this day, it's a little difficult because I am so attached to those first 5 albums. I think they're the most melodic, wide scope sounding albums that I think I've heard from any band. They ruled the 80s. They really did. They had such a powerful element to their sound and a lot of emotional attachment for me. This is their second album. It's not a lot of the fans' favorites. It's not even the band's favorite themselves. They were pressured to write this with a very short amount of time. But I love this album because I love how each instrument has its own turn to shine, meaning that the piano itself, which I think the Edge was just barely teaching himself how to play piano at this point. It's nothing fancy. It's nothing to gripe about. It's nothing to praise other than it's got a lot of nuances. There's a lot of little intricate nuances that my ear just picks up right away immediately. Adam Clayton's bass playing is very melodic. Bono's vocals are very passionate. Larry Mullins Jr.'s drums have a lot of emotional drama to them. This is an amazing album. I think Scarlet's my favorite off of this. It's just an instrumental. Again, nothing that I think anyone really talks about. It just has a lot of atmosphere, and I do play it for the month of October. I can't play this album during the summer. It just feels off. Just the way that it looks on the album cover itself, you can tell that it's one of those overcast days, like it's in the fall. So this has a lot of significance for me. This is a great album. This next one is something that I picked up over at Rasputin's Records back in the Bay Area over in Pleasant Hill. This is David Crosby's first solo album. If you could only remember my name, if I could only remember my name. Yeah, this stuff's good. Anyway, I really, really love this album. It does get talked about. He has quite an array of musicians to really back him up on his first solo venture. Not many people know, but this was a really hard time for David Crosby. He lost his girlfriend to a car accident. And I think he just didn't know how to handle it. He didn't know how to come to terms with it. So music was really his only saving grace for this time. Side 1 is kind of electric, while Side 2 is more acoustic, a lot more mellow. It's got a lot of great names on him to help him out. He's got Jefferson Airplane members. He's got Grateful Dead members, Joni Mitchell. This is a gorgeous, gorgeous album. I really wish that they did like a 50th anniversary of this album and added a little bit more bonus tracks. There's a song called Kids and Dogs that wasn't included on here, which I think might be my favorite off the album, and it's not even on the actual original pressing. Um, just a lot of great melodies. I learned a lot of guitar parts when I was young. I learned a lot of vocal harmonies through David Crosby, especially when he was with the Byrds. Truly love 8 Miles High. Um, really, really sad that he passed this year. That's one that I'm still kind of getting over because he was definitely a part of my learning years as a musician. This one is a no-brainer. This is the Beatles' White Album. This is a 1969 pressing, so it still has the embroidered lettering, but it doesn't have the serial number. This one is very important to me. This one I've listened to since I was probably 3 and memorized every nook and cranny of it. It is so eclectic. It's an hour and 20 minutes of every music genre you can possibly imagine. Every style, every emotion. You get classical, folk, rock, heavy rock, country. I mean, it's all here. Don't really have to say much about it. Um, I did a creative writing story class back in, I think, 4th or 5th grade, and it was my first A that I ever got in school, was actually describing this album and how much it affected me even when I was a child. So this one's incredibly special to me. This one, which is going to throw you because it's not the normal pressing, whatever that might mean, or I would say the most common pressing. It is the Police's Synchronicity. This is the gold, bronze, and silver edition. This was something I think Tower Records had some agreement with as far as the record company. This was more of an actual promo. Later on, they did the famous blue, yellow, and red, and 32 variations. This album is quite something. I remember Every Breath You Take coming out when I was in 5th or 6th grade. They later on said it was the stalking song, and people got married to it and this and that. Again, I love the musicality of this album. It's extremely mysterious, and there's a lot of drama in it. There's a lot of heartache in it, but it's also achingly beautiful. It happens to be the very last Police album that they made. They folded when they were in their prime. Every song on here, probably with the exception of Mother, I think we could all do without that one. Yet there are some people that like it. I do normally skip it. It's kind of disruptive of the flow a little bit. But I truly love this album. There's just something very murky and very mysterious about it. Again, I think the production is wonderful. Again, Robert Ludwig did the engineering for this, which, by the way, I'll put up here right now. I sent Robert Ludwig a thank you and describing him how much I loved Led Zeppelin 2 and how it was engineered by him to make it hotter than what Eddie Kramer and Jimmy Page wanted it to be. And bless his heart, he actually replied back to me. I still have it saved in my email, so I thought that was really cool. He's just one of those people that really takes time out for people that really appreciate what he does in the music business. I don't think he really does anything anymore. I think he's retired most likely. He may do some things on the side. But when you wanted your record to sound extra good and you wanted it to have that big stereo pan picture and that punch, Robert Ludwig was the man to go to make anything sound absolutely fantastic. This is the same album. This is just the very first pressing. This is the black and white version before they put the stripes on it. Don't know if it's highly sought out. It is collectible. That's what I mainly get in my collection. I get things like this because it's not an everyday thing. I don't think they even reissue this on CD. The songs are the same, mixes are the same. They just went through several different pressings until I think Every Breath You Take, Wrapped Around Your Finger, all those things were definitely starting to hit the charts. So, great album. All right, well, this next one definitely has a lot of sentimental value to me. This was my dad's favorite Simon & Garfunkel album by far. Quite a heavy hitter, a lot of heavy subject matter on this one, but this is such a great accomplishment. Side one, for everyone that knows this is more of a concept album. Side two, I think, was just kind of leftovers from The Graduate that were kind of either throwaways or B-sides. Magnificent listen. Again, not one to take lightly or have one in the background kind of thing. Definitely one to definitely pay attention to. Used to read the lyrics a lot as I was older, and just had a lot more sentimental value as I got older. Definitely more so ever now, but great, great album. Fantastic listen. This next one does not get any attention that I've ever known online or any review on YouTube. Kind of baffles me. Maybe it's just one of those hidden gems that's meant to be hidden and it's only to be brought up when it needs to be brought up. This one is definitely very special to me. It has been since I was 6 years old. This is Johnny Rivers' Realization. I remember this when I was a child. My dad played this a lot. He used to tape this off onto cassette, wear the cassette out, and then when we needed another copy, he'd bring out the album again. But I absolutely love this album. I was really intrigued as a child listening to it because I remember a lot of the segues in between songs had sound effects, meaning that there were waves crashing on the beach, there would be wind blowing, children in the park. This was quite a radical departure for him. He used to do a lot of cover songs back in the 60s at the Whiskey A Go-Go. He did a lot of Chuck Berry stuff, Secret Agent Man. He was more of a cover artist. I think this was the first time that he was really breaking the mold of that and really doing something quite original. Again, this is an album that has a lot of soul searching, a lot of reflection of your own self. I think a lot of people were doing this at this time, 1967 going into 1968. They were writing more for themselves and about themselves as to a subject matter like romance or drive-thrus or whatever. This just seemed to be a little bit more thought-provoking than any of his albums previously released before. This is a childhood favorite. I never tire of this, ever. Definitely worth checking out if you have not heard it. The very last one that I've got is very personal to me. This is Neil Young's first solo album shortly after Buffalo Springfield broke up. When I was in high school, I was pretty much an introvert. I wasn't too extroverted. I wasn't socially inept. I just kept to myself for the most part, did my own thing. And after hearing this album when I was 16, 17 years old, this was like a security blanket. The feel of this album and the content matter of this album, for me, reminded myself that it was okay to be alone. It was okay to be by myself. It was okay to do my own thing and feel comfortable with it. I love this album. This is kind of a combination of folk and country folk. You can tell there's a lot of Buffalo Springfield elements to this that are still kind of left over from that band. But I truly, truly love this album. I do have the original mix from 1968. I will do a separate video of the comparison of the original mix as to the recalled version, which is this. But this is wonderful. There's even a song called The Loner, which I did kind of bring with me like a blanket when I was much younger. The Old Laughing Lady is absolutely beautiful. Here We Are in the Years is gorgeous. This is my favorite Neil Young album out of all albums that he's put out. I did love stuff with Crazy Horse. I like some of his grunge stuff, but I'm a sucker for his first maybe 4 or 5 albums. Anything from 1968 up to 1972 when he did Harvest, I think is quite a fantastic period that I can never get enough of. I really learned a lot from him as far as guitar styles, songwriting, arrangements. Truly a magnificent album that I will never tire of as well. So that is my top 10 albums that I love to play that are my personal favorites out of 300 that I do have. I hope everyone did enjoy this video. Comment down below if you want to like and subscribe to my channel. Please feel free to do so. I do this for fun. I'm just doing this to get back into the vinyl community, into my channel. I'm going to put a couple links down below to some friends that I've made recently on YouTube. I do want to give a shout out to Melinda Murphy. Check out her channel when you do have a chance. She is a wonderful person that has quite the extensive collection. She has really made a great name for herself in the vinyl community, so check her out as well. And I will see you guys around, and remember, please be constructive, not destructive. All right, guys, you take good care.